Okay, we're back with another Flex Storefront video. In today's episode, we will be going over and categories in our e-commerce shop. We'll start with the API and service layer, and we'll dive all the way through to state management and then the view. How are you doing,
Yeah,
Nico?
good. Very excited. Until now, we have just work on the view and the UI, and now we will take the first step into the business logic and state management.
So let's talk a little bit about our API and where we're going to be getting this category data from.
The entity we will start with is actually the categories of our shop. So we will display a list of category, and you will be able to navigate between those categories and finally get to the product list page and product detail page, etc. So let's start with listing the root categories. We have some defined in our backend. We used Strapi. So if I go to my admin panel, we have the content management, we have the collection type category, and a category is actually a name, description, an image, and category can have a parent or children's. The
And for those
data,
who don't
yeah,
know, Strapi is an open source headless CMS to allow you to manage content, right? Collection types, single types like we have here. And so then we can input our data. This is what we have running as our CMS on the back end. We'll have some category data that we'll show here and then be able to fetch that over API, right?
exactly. So let's say, so our categories are here. We have like 100, we have a nice data set of categories. We actually generate those with AI. We use ChatGPT to generate the category and subcategories, and then Midjourney to generate an image for those. So for instance, if I go to the category family tent, you have an image of the family tent. And all those categories you can see here can be requested with a REST API that Strapi exposed for the developers. And if we go with Postman here, /API/categories, we populate the sub-entities, so we have the parent for the subcategories. And we actually, because we want to start with the root categories, we will filter the categories that doesn't have a parent.
Right, makes sense. Okay.
Exactly. So we have an object containing the key named data, and in that key named data we have an array, and each element in that array is a category.
Correct. Okay. So the next step, I guess, would be to take this API request, bring that into our Flutter app, and actually convert or deserialize that JSON model into something we can use within Dart.
Exactly. So I like to start with what I call the bottom to top approach. So in the different layer of architecture, I start with the deepest, simplest thing we can have, which is actually defining the model shape from the data returned by the endpoint. So let's go with let's start. So we have in the shop page, we can define folder name category list because that's what we are going to implement. And then inside that category list, we have a model. And in that model, we have a category model. Category dot. It would be a class named category. And the field in that class will be the key in each element here. So we will need the ID, we need the name,
Right.
final string name, final integer int
Hmm.
ID. Let's use the error message to generate the constructor. Here we go. Yeah, that's it. It could be nice to have the image as well. So the image is a sub-entity in Strapi. So we'll create a submodel class category image, and this category image will have a URL. There we go. And we can add that image here, and we'll declare the type of the category image as not null. Well, nullable, I mean.
Nullable.
Yeah, because
Okay.
some category may not have image.
Right. Once we get to a level of subcategories, they may not actually include it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. And now we will write an API class to have a method to call when we want to request those categories. We will need a few dependencies. We need a HTTP client actually. There is one in Dart, I think, but most of the developers use a package. The most popular one is DIO. So we'll import
Off to
DIO.
pubdev.
Yep. And Flutter Bloc get. And let's write that API class. Start with APIs slash category API. There we go. Category API. That category API will use an instance of the HTTP client we just imported. So it will be final HTTP equal an instance of DIO. And I think that's the only thing we need for now. We'll see later if we have to like improve that, configure that client.
Okay.
And we can go with a method that will return a list of categories. And we call that fetch categories, get categories. Your call.
Sure. Fetch categories.
Fetch categories.
Let's do it. Yeah.
There we go. I'm thinking a bit in the future, and I think we can use the same method to get either the root categories or the subcategories of a given parent. So
Okay.
I think we can have here a parent
Provide
ID
an ID.
field. Let's name it name parent and make it optional. Good. And what we will do is request the REST API. So final response equal HTTP dot get. So I need the URL. I found it in my Postman where I made some trials. Here we go. So in that URL, we tell Strapi to return the list of category filtered by parent where the ID is null.
Right.
And oh yeah, we have to escape
And we
that
could just
because
substitute that for the parent ID itself if we want to actually use parent ID.
yes, exactly. Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh wait, because if we have a parent ID, it won't be the $null operator. It will be $equal with the
Right.
value here. So it's
Right.
not
Good point.
exactly the same, but yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Okay.
So that's here. We can do interpolation, having that parent ID equal null, and if it's null, it's the subcategories. So that's the value we have here. And if it's not null, it means that we want an equal operator. Oh, I will copy paste that to
Yeah. Equal
equal.
to the parent ID.
Yeah, so that's the dollar sign. And then here it's an actual interpolation, and that would be my parent ID. Exactly. Here we go. Maybe it will
Okay,
improve a
so
little
looks
bit.
complicated, but in reality, it's just if we don't pass a parent ID through to the fetch categories method, then it will be null,
Yeah,
and we'll actually just return exactly
yeah,
what Strapi wants for that.
exactly.
Got it.
Domain. Path. Let's do a little bit of variable extraction. It will be $domain, $path. There we go.
Nice.
Not too bad. Okay.
Okay, we have our method.
Yep.
We'll get some
And
data
we
back
will
in
return a
response.
list of categories, but baby step first, I will just return an empty array for now and print the response just to check if everything is correct, right?
Sounds good.
Response, we can go with response.status, if there is one. Oh yeah, it's a future, so we have to wait for it. And now I have a status code, and if the status code is good, we have some data.
Sounds good.
Why? Oh yeah, of course, it's a future of list category. Good. So now we have no upper layer, but we can cut corners and just do a test here by instantiating our service. Category service, sorry, API. Different semantic from a project to another. Fetch category with no parent ID.
Okay.
We wait for it. It's already async, so it's fine. And I think we should have some log showing up in the console.
So we're just calling it directly from main as opposed to
Yeah,
having a
exactly.
button or a page load.
Just as a test,
Okay.
early test. And it was a
Error.
good idea because it doesn't work, right? For free. Oh yeah, we forgot about one thing is to, well, it's not a public API, we have to authenticate. So yeah, we can do that inline directly in the instantiation here by selecting option. That double dot operator is here to get a handle of what is instantiate, so it's convenient to do inline signation like we are about to do. So option like headers, and we provide map. So the header will be authorization, classic, and the authorization is just a simple bearer token that we saved somewhere. So it's bearer. So we already have it in a variable name Strapi bearer token in that file that is imported automatically. Perfect.
Got it.
Brace. Okay. Let's start again. Oh, that's better.
There we go. 200.
So we're good. Good news. We have a 200 status.
Nice.
And we have some data with some categories in it. So good thing we have tried our service earlier. I can remove that because I know it works,
Mm-hmm.
and focus now on the upper layer, which would be the state management layer we use in the app, the layers that will be the glue between the UI and the state of the application.
Right. Okay.
And for this series, we choose Bloc as a state management package. So this is one of the very popular package in Flutter for state management. We have to go back to pub.dev to import a couple of library. First is Bloc. So let's add that. And the second one will be Flutter Bloc, which is actually the bridge between Bloc, the state management library, and Flutter. Bloc alone is framework agnostic, so you can
Okay.
use Flutter, you can use Bloc, sorry, in a classic Dart application, for instance.
Okay. And Flutter will give us
Uh,
specific widgets to take advantage of the state
Flutter
management
Bloc, yeah,
concepts
yeah,
within Flutter widgets itself. Okay.
exactly. So I like to organize my dependency per alphabetic order. Here we go. Flutter get. Good. So I think we can show the global. There is a diagram, or maybe it's not in the. Oh yeah, it's photo
In
block.
the documentation.
Go back to yeah, yeah. So let's take a look at this diagram, which explains very briefly what a block is. You can see the word cubit. Cubit is actually a lightweight block. So we'll use actually cubit instead of block, but both are have the same base.
Okay.
So when using a cubit, the cubit receives a function call from the UI when the user start the app or click on a button, call to action, or type something, or well, something triggers method execution, and the qubit is in charge of reacting to that event. So in our case, it will be loading the categories
Okay.
and handle the response, and then uh, expose those categories we just request to the UI.
Through a state. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, and why? Because we speak about state management because it's a succession of state. Like when the category are loading, it's nice to have a loading spinner or activity progress indicator so the user
Right.
know that something is loading and he's waiting for better UX that way.
Okay.
So the qubit is emitting states to reflect that. When we start the request, we will emit like a pending state, so the UI will be updated with a spinner. And when the request is ends with the categories, we can remove that spinner and display the categories instead. And finally, if the request fail, because it can always happen, we can display a message error. So that's
Got it.
why we rely a lot on those state management library, because in mobile you have to inform your user of whatever happened in the app, error, pending states, error states, and success.
Makes
So let's
sense.
go. Let's create our first qubit. I'm back in my category list folder. I create a qubit, name category qubit. Simpler is better. So it's a class, category qubit, that extends the qubit class. And the qubit class is generic, and it takes a state class in it. So actually, I should have started with that. Let's say category state. Oh, it's a dot
Yeah.
file. It's a
So
file.
I guess
Sorry.
we'll make a category state here that will keep track, if I'm understanding correctly, of the kind of status of the request. So whether that's loading, success, or error, and then it will
Exactly.
also contain an array of our categories themselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
So, good thing you spoke about status because that's what we will do now. So, enum category status. So the different category status we can have is we said pending,
Mm-hmm.
we said success, meaning that our categories are successfully loaded. Failure.
Right.
I sometimes we need like an initial state, but in our case, very simple for now, we can initiate the qubit with the state pending because
Okay.
like, yeah,
'Cause they should be loading as soon as either the app starts or the
exactly,
page is opened. Okay.
exactly. Um, so now the state itself, it will be the category state, which have, like we said, a status, category status, status, and a list of categories. So status is required, and category is actually not required and is
Defaults
initiated
to
with a
empty.
default value. So
Got it.
this is fine. So now I'm able to define my qubit with the category state. Nice. So now we just have to follow the error message, compilation errors we have to initiate. Oh yeah, so import block indeed, and initiate some necessary method. So
Simple.
qubit needs to be instantiated with an initial state. So we will write that state super with oops, category state, and that category state, like we said, will be pending.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
And
will
when we
have, yeah,
and when we construct it, so we'll have status pending, and the array will default to the empty array of categories.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And now
So
we'll have our handle to actually load the categories.
right.
So this will be future. So those load categories, and it takes nothing. Yeah, no parameters. Oh yeah, it can take the, yeah, we have the same
Parent ID.
parent ID exactly. Int parent ID, and it is nullable. It's asynchronous. There we go. And then we actually initiate the category loading. So like I said, we emit, oh, we already have the pending state.
Mm-hmm.
I will still emit a pending state in case we have to refresh that category list. If we have like a push to refresh control or
Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah. I think
let's
that makes sense.
emit. So let's emit a state, and that state will be pending. So now we have the chance to inform the user that something is loading. We can actually perform the request. So we need the API we wrote earlier. So let's start with final category API equal category API. We will probably have a video about dependency injection, loose coupling, etc. But
Right.
for now, we can just instantiate it as a private member here. So now we can do final, oops, list, well, final categories equal category API.fetch categories and give it an
Pass through that
arbitrary
parent
parent
ID.
ID. Yep.
Okay.
And now we have the category. We can emit a new state with the categories in the state. So emit category state status category status dot success.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget the categories. With the categories
Nice.
we just fetch.
Okay. It's fairly
Why
straightforward
it doesn't work?
and
Oh, yep. Sorry, I
future.
I did it again.
Nice. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. And how are we gonna tackle error handling? Or are we gonna do that at this
Nice.
point?
Yeah. Good question. So from the block perspective, we don't think yet about UI feedback like banners, red warning, whatever. From the block perspective, we just raise the state with the failure status.
Okay.
So let's wrap all we have in a try-catch block. And in that try-catch block, we can raise failure. There we go.
Right. Okay.
So this way, on the UI side, we will have a chance to get an update of the status. And if it's a failure, we can display like what we want. Maybe it could be a retry button, it could be just an error, we'll see.
Perfect.
So I think it's done. Oh yeah, but yeah, important thing to do. Our API still return empty array.
Nothing. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to take care of that.
So let's talk
Um,
deserialization.
exactly, fun part. Let's take a look at response.data. And response.data should contain something like that. We have a key named data, which is an array. And in that array, we have object with ID, name, parent, image, etc. So we will have to deserialize this data into instance of our model. And we can do that manually because this model here has a constructor. So we
Mm-hmm.
can just loop on this array and call the category constructor for uh, for each one.
Okay.
But we can do that a bit more like uh, automatically by using a deserialization library. And the most popular one is JSON serializable. Oh, I have to import it, of course. You annotate your model class definition with JSON serializable, and it will generate for you uh, from JSON and to JSON method. So we'll use from JSON because we want to deserialize, but you can also like serialize to send something to the API.
Okay.
So we will add that in dev dependencies here. And the actual dependency that is not dev is just JSON annotation. So it's just annotation. It's a very lightweight package containing just a very basic class,
Mm-hmm.
JSON serializable. And most of the library is actually a dev dependency because it relies on code generation to generate the from JSON to JSON method.
Okay.
Wait, Flutter get. So I can add part here.
Okay.
Good. Could not generate from JSON for images. So yes,
Ah,
I forgot that. Sign. We have a subentity, so if that category entity is serializable, it means that category image should be serializable as well.
right.
Here we go. So here is my file here. And
Okay, so
oh
it
yeah,
just
we have
generates all the boilerplate code to
exactly,
deserialize, and gives us probably a couple additional options to map different fields to our model itself.
exactly. So in my class, I will have to call those generated method. So I still have code to write in my class, but it's a very minimal
Mm,
version of it. Take only one line.
okay,
Go.
and same thing for the category image.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Category image, category image, and category image. You know what? Actually, we want to deserialize, but we don't want to serialize. There is the chance of generate a category on the client side and send it to the server is actually unlikely. So we can remove the to JSON.
Okay.
And because we don't use it, we can also tell the library to not generate it. So it will remove the category to JSON and category image to JSON from the generated file. There we go. So now we can go back to our API. So we printed the response.data. So in that response.data, so this is a DIO field, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a coincidence, but in our Strapi response, we also have a data
Right.
field. So what we have here is actually data, and this is our array.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. So I can do response.data.map, and for each value in the array, so it will be JSON string dynamic element.
Mm-hmm.
We instantiate a category. So it will be category from
Using the
JSON.
from JSON that we have generated.
Exactly,
Got it. Okay.
exactly, from JSON. Oh, name it element, so it's element. There we go. Well, so this is my return actually.
There we go.
We can maybe test the part again, just to be sure. What happened? It
Mm.
doesn't do
Still got
anything.
an error in the category generated file.
Oh, oh, here we go. Oh, here is the. Oh, we set up Crashlytics in a previous video. So we have a
They
Crashlytics
coming to the
report.
rescue.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So let's take care of that error first. Okay, so we have that error here, which is type error, and that because actually the result of that mapping is to unknown for dot type inference system,
Mm.
so we can precise that by saying it's a list of category that we return.
Okay. So explicitly telling it a list of
Exactly,
categories from this data. Okay.
exactly.
We're still calling it in main.
And here we go.
Let's give it a try.
Oh yeah, but this one is actually because I force it into that type, but it doesn't know that it's just a dynamic. Yeah, here we go.
There we go.
So, well, we don't see the data, but we have no error, which is
Right.
a good sign. We can actually print that. So, final result equal that,
And just
and
print the
we
result instead.
return the result, but it actually gives us the opportunity to print it here. Instance of category, instance of category, instance of category. So it's not very explicit.
We don't have our toString method, but
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Nice.
It's actually quite easy to implement. We can just let the ID generate it for us.
Perfect.
And both. We can also, there's also like code generation package to automatically generate those. And so it's done on the model. And one interesting class we want to debug sometimes is the state. So it's also interesting to have that here. Oops, sorry about that. Override method. Nope, it's not the right one. ToString. There we go. And because it could be like, if we have a lot of category, generate a very big line of debugging. So what I like to do when I have an entity is to actually log the length of the array, which gave me the debugging information I want.
Right.
Good. Too much logging.
Yeah, just to make sure that category results are actually coming back in the state. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have data coming from the API back to, and then being deserialized into our Dart models.
Exactly. So let's step now is to display those in the UI.
Right.
So let's remove that debugging line. Okay, good. So now we have created our qubit, but we don't actually instantiate it anywhere. So we'll do that now. Let's start with the simplest code here. So we have that shop page displayed when I click on the shop tab that just contains shop page from now. So we can define our build our qubit here, declare our qubit here. So we will do that with a widget provided by Flutter Bloc, which is BlocProvider. So I will wrap my content with BlocProvider. BlocProvider takes a generic saying that it's actually a category qubit we want to provide. It comes from Flutter Bloc. Why it is not available here? I don't know. Yeah, okay, for some reason you don't want me to okay, so BlocProvider take a mandatory argument which is create. Create is a function with context and it returns the instance of the category qubit. Return category qubit. Here we go.
Okay.
And
so now we have our qubit instantiated, and I'm guessing this BlocProvider sits at the body level of the tree, and anything underneath it can access state then.
Exactly. You place the block in the smallest area of the application that needs the data. So in my case, it's the shop page for now. And it's interesting to have that block created at the page level because sometimes you need a different instance of the block per page. Let's say you have a search page and you have a search block. The search block wraps the search page. So if you do another search, you will have another instance of the search block with its
Right.
own state, etc. So it makes the state management easier.
Okay.
My block doesn't do much for now, but as soon as we create it, we will fetch the category in it. So load categories, and because it's a root category page, we don't have any parent ID to give for now. So now the block is created and the categories are loaded. And now it gives me the opportunity to react to that state change. So what I like to do is to separate the page instantiated the state management, and then below it the view that receives the state changes and decide which content is displayed. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so just below, because the two widgets are tied together, but just below I will create a stateless widget, name shop view. Whoops. And that shop view will be the one in the child here. Shop view. Const. Okay. Oops. Oh yeah, the placeholder widget that shows this. Yeah. And what we will do now is to listen to the state change. And listening to the state change is done by the BlocBuilder method, the BlocBuilder widget. So I define a BlocBuilder. It's a BlocBuilder of category cubit. And it has a second type, which is the state. So import it. And why we define the state as the second genotype is because it knows that in the builder method, we have a second argument state, and it knows that this variable is actually an instance of category state. And the job of the block builder is to return the right widget according to the block. So for now, we can just do like, what did we add earlier? Like text with just shop page in it.
Yeah.
So write temporary for now, just to verify that it works. It doesn't.
I guess it's not a constant now that it's block builder. It can change. Line 32, you have const.
Oh yeah.
In the block before the block builder. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Here we go.
Nice. So now using that state, we can do either a switch or an if, and display different pending, error, and success states.
Exactly. So let's say we have state. Let's do a switch on the status actually. We'll see if it's relevant or not. But yeah, we can just do like state.status. Oops. And the nice thing is, we have. Oh yeah, it doesn't generate all of them. Really? Okay. I have to click on that.
One at a time.
Helper. Yeah. Okay. No problem. Okay. So when my state is pending, which widget I will return? I will display. So I can display.
Circular loading.
Yeah. Circular.
Progress indicator. Perfect.
And I think, if I remember correctly,
that
the circular progress indicator just takes the wall space available. Right. So if we wrap it with a center widget, it will just unbound the circular indicator, the circular progress indicator widget, and it will display nicely at the middle of the screen. So that's my UI when the state is pending. When the state is success, that's the interesting part. We will display the list of categories. So let's display a list view where the children are actually state.categories.map. It receives category, and it will return list item.
I think that's the right widget. Yeah.
Is it list item? What
List
is it?
tile.
List style? Yeah, list style. And title is text, and it's the category dot name. And I made an error here. Oh, it's a yeah. Here we go. So oh yeah, it's a map, so it's an iterable. So I have to like define toList.
ToList. Okay.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Hey, we have data.
Oh wow! I didn't
Thanks
expect
to
it
Flutter's hot
now.
reload.
Nice. Okay, cool. Cool.
Awesome. And then we can do the
Um,
same thing for handling errors. We could either display a
yeah,
floating feedback or a error on the page, like you said, to have a button to retry.
yeah.
But that makes
Let
sense.
let's try to refresh, and hopefully we will, if the request is slow enough, we'll show the progress indicator
Mm-hmm.
while the oh yeah, do you see
There we
it?
go. Beautiful.
There you
So
go.
our
Nice.
UI is successfully reacting to the state, I guess.
Exactly. In case of failure, yeah, we will display. Well, we can do that as well. Um, we can imagine like uh, a column widget with two children. One is a text saying that category loading failed,
Mm-hmm.
and the second will be like a elevated button on press,
Right.
and child will
Some
be
text.
text saying retry. There we go.
Nice. So now we've
Yeah,
handled, and we're kind of with the switch case forced to handle all the different states. So we know we're not missing any that could
exactly.
end us in like a render issue.
A good way to trigger that failure is repros the same error we did earlier in the video by just forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, here we go. Tac. Let's try that. And if I go there, oh, category loading fail.
Very nice.
Shoot. There we go.
Awesome.
Yeah, just for my satisfy my perfectionism, just like center it.
Okay, great. So just to recap, we went through in this episode our Strapi instance and our looked at our API and looked at our model. Then we took that model, we created our API within Dart to fetch using DO, our HTTP client, to make requests. We took the JSON and deserialized it using JSON serializable package into our Dart model. And then we used our cubit and the Flutter Bloc package to actually create the state and then emit that state and react to it within our UI.
Yeah, I would have two takeaways from this video. One is the bottom to top approach that we did, and the second is having a quick feedback loop by just hard coding some instruction just to have just to test every step of your development. Do not wait to implement the whole thing from the model to the view to
Mm.
actually test that you are requesting your entity correctly.
Right, because it's kind of inevitable that you run into errors along the way. So
Exactly.
debugging helps. Awesome.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks very much for the time today, Nico, and
Yeah.
look forward to next week.
Yeah. Sure. Bye, Steven. Bye, viewers.
Bye now.